tonight is to be finished and have a report to present to the selectmen. So at this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And I would like to make a brief statement that this meeting is being held remotely. Members of the public are welcome to attend, and remote attendance is being provided as a courtesy to the public. I'd appreciate if someone's got background noise, if you could please mute yourself. It's being provided as a courtesy to the public, and the meeting is being recorded by BCAT. To address the committee, permission of the chair is required. However, this is a public meeting and not a public hearing, so the chair is not required to allow public participation. As this meeting is being conducted remotely, all votes will be taken by roll call. I would like to first, because we do have a couple of guests that have been along for most of the way. I would like to allow them a moment to speak, and after the public speaking, there will be no more comments from the public, and the committee will get to the business of finishing up this report. So with that, I see that we have both John Strauss and Eileen Sickler. Do either of you want to make any public statement here before we get started?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair.
And Eileen, just to know, you're limited to 3 minutes.
Oh, that's more than enough. I will surrender the rest of my time to Mr. Strauss. Anyway, so town meeting member Eileen Sickler, town meeting member precinct 4. So I just saw on the agenda that you guys were in fact wrapping up and that you were making a recommendation to the select board. So I wanted to hear what that recommendation was and where you go from now on, if so. So with that, I'll surrender my time to the other, my former transportation committee person, John Strauss.
Thank you, Eileen, and thank you for your interest in participation in both the committee before this and being involved in this committee. John Strauss, would you like to address committee?
Thanks, Chairman Parker, and thanks, Eileen, for the well-wishing. I want to say the same. You've been a great member when we served together on the Transportation Committee, right on the ball. And I wanted just to say that as this meeting is going on, there's also the Better Bus meeting of the MBTA going on, where they're showing their new proposal. Now, for us here in Burlington, what that means is that the 350 is going to disappear. Route 80 is going to take over that whole, so it's going to continue the loop through Burlington. So it'll go from Lacash's all the way over to Wegmans, that whole little loop. So we're not going to lose that, which is very interesting. And then the up and down Cambridge Street will just be the 354. So I just wanted to put that in there as we go. And of course, you guys are doing a great job. So keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. We will, during the meeting, we'll give an update on the MBTA bus network redesign, but I appreciate you bringing that up. Do we have any other members of the public that would like to speak? Seeing none, this closes the opportunity for the public to speak, and we'll call the committee to order and approve. The first item is to approve minutes from the meeting on 10/5. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by committee member Yetman. Second.
I'll second it.
Second by member Bond. And we have to do a roll call. So member Bond.
Aye.
Don't have member Covino. Member Harrington.
Hello. I'm here.
Yeah, do we have a yes to accept the meeting minutes?
Yes. Yes, accepting the meeting.
Member Interest.
Yes.
We don't have Mazzardo, and member Parker, yes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 0.
We forgot Marge officially.
Oh, I didn't ask you, Marge?
To vote, yeah.
Sorry, Marge, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think he counted you, but didn't ask you.
I did, I
Yeah.
did count you.
Well, I
You
made
know,
the motion, right?
that's right. You know,
Exactly.
after 6:30, my math skills are gone. Okay. The major purpose is to finalize the recommendations for the select board. Jeremy, we're unfortunately going to rely heavily on you tonight. I know that we had made some progress in last meeting, but being unable to work on it outside of the meeting, we haven't really moved it along at all. I just sent Jeremy, Melissa Massardo's comments, and actually I'll read those aloud. And I also sent him information on the requirements or desires from the business community that we had been talking about. So let me just read into the record Melissa's comments. Excuse me a second. Okay. So the transportation, this is from Melissa Massaro. Transportation Committee jointly with the school committee entered Burlington as a Safe Routes to School partner in 2022. During the first year of partnership, Burlington became a bronze second level partner. The district partnered with Safe Routes to School to send out a transportation survey to parents. The results were helpful, but not as comprehensive as we would have liked due to the inability to edit or add to the survey, but they are a useful baseline. 3 schools, Fox Hill Memorial and Marshall Simons Middle School, participated in the arrival dismissal audits to identify areas of improvement in the mornings and afternoon. Each school received a very detailed report. Fox Hill School held 2 walk, bike, and roll to school events in the spring and fall that were huge successes. 200 to 300 plus students arrived to school each day by non-motorized means. Based on the arrival dismissal report, Fox Hill applied for a $6,000 signs and lines grant and was accepted into the program. Partnership with the state will happen during the fall and winter, with the physical improvements being completed by spring 2023. The recommendations. Safe Routes to School partnership is a great example of where a transportation and mobility coordinator could have a great impact. Coordination with each school and across schools requires more time and effort than many school administrators already short on. Coordination within each school and across schools requires time and effort that many school administrators are already short on. The PTO programs could take on many of the programming, but would need a central point of contact between the district and the town. Right now, over-enthusiastic parents are what keeps the program moving forward. Lastly, the Safe Routes to School program offers larger grant funding of up to $1.5 million. Our district could be eligible for this funding with a transportation and mobility coordinator to oversee the grant application process, and ensure that Burlington's application is aligned with the overall transportation plan, i.e. a unified crosswalk and sidewalk strategy. So let me just get rid of that. I sent that to Jeremy, so we can use that to kind of copy and paste in where we get to the school recommendations. So Jeremy, if maybe perhaps you could share your screen and we can go through this thing, put in the recommendations. And again, I think we want to base it on following up from the town meeting recommendations, addressing, the Safe Routes to School, participate in Safe Routes to School, recommend a transportation mobility coordinator, and break it down to what our recommendations are going to be to that to the coordinator.
All right. So I have taken that and pasted it into a slide, but haven't had time to do anything with it.
Yep.
I did take some of our discussions that we had and put it into some of the slides. Obviously couldn't share with anybody, so did it in a vacuum. but a lot of this hasn't had change since we openly worked on it last time.
Right.
And I mean, let's change this though. I think we can all agree on that. It's November. So this was, coming out with our goal and our outputs. As we talked, I think we worked through this wording as a group. I'll just pause and everybody read it, take it in.
I would probably take C and 1C out, because that's more of a recommendation than the goals and outputs, if that makes sense. Because I assume we go in later into more detail on the recommendations.
Yes, I
If people
was
agree.
checking. I believe we do. Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with that because we do call that out in the recommendation.
Jeremy, I think 2B double I, distinctly away from technology, and I've got something popped up there.
Oh,
Traditional mall-based shopping. We still are, the mall is a big part of what we do. Maybe traditional consumer habits, or something like that, just something, we're trying to just paint what's happened.
how's that? Traditional consumer
Perfect.
retail patterns.
Perfect.
What's in the lower right-hand corner where it says this committee was?
Oh, I think that was an old tagline.
Okay. Just, I don't know if you wanted to
Yeah.
get rid of it or put it somewhere.
Yeah, that was under here, but we ran out of real estate.
Okay.
It says this committee was charged with exploring solutions and building recommendations for the select board to determine the strategy for the town's transportation vision.
Well, I like
It
the
started
statement.
just making us. It started to make it a little bit of like a wall of words, more so than it already is. So I kind of pulled it off to the side, but I also liked it because I didn't delete it.
Yeah, I'd like to put it somewhere.
What about
What if
putting
you,
it on the
what if you
cover?
made committee, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what about putting it on the first page, like as a sort of charge underneath the heading? Sorry, Marge,
report.
I don't know if that, yeah. I don't know if that goes against what you were gonna suggest, Marge.
No, it does not. It's perfect.
I think it's good too.
We could like tighten it up a little too, if we don't want it to be massive.
Definitely don't want it 7 font. Let's keep going up and down. Sorry, I'm not a.
Hey, anything
used
you're
to
doing that we're
Microsoft
not going to
products, so it throws me
criticize
off.
at all. Play as much as you need
Yep.
to because you're the one doing the
Doing-
hard work.
You're doing fine, Jeremy.
Yeah, you're good.
You could probably just
Oh.
remove, so either do like charge : and take out this committee was, or or just capitalize the charged and take out this committee was. Charged with exploring solutions and building recommendations for, I think select board is probably capitalized.
Yep, I agree.
Um,
Oh, right.
Now, do we actually know if the town has a transportation vision? Is that jumping ahead? Is it really to determine what the town's transportation vision is first, or?
Were we talking about that big, long survey that, I mean, the recommendations or whatever was it? I know Rick has referred to them many times.
Yeah, I think this is fine to leave it at that. Because if we pour over each one of these things, we're gonna kill ourselves trying to get through it. The way that I see this happening is I will present to the select board and anyone that wants to join me. I'm certainly not gonna read through this whole thing. It's gonna be, they can digest all the details of it. The recommendations will come out, through the backup that's gonna be in here. And, we're certainly not going to produce a document as fine as the previous committee did. But I think what the selectmen were looking for is for us to take the recommendations, verify which ones we believed in, and we're really just pushing this thing forward. To the bottom recommendations is to continue with the safe routes to school, create a transportation mobility coordinator position, and the recommendations that we give that person will be, and then we'll knock down what those will be in very, basic terms with backup. So a lot of this is not going to be, I don't think we need to pour over every word and wordsmith the heck out of it, because I do think we've gone a couple of months over, and I respect everyone's time, and we've sat through this. Just want to get a document that we can speak to, and I can certainly answer any questions that the select board would have.
Sounds good.
Personally, I think that's good. If anyone wants any other changes there, we can debate it.
Yeah, so I just started it with the action verb exploring, charged being past tense, and I thought that had a flow.
Sure.
Or do we want to dive into this one anymore? Or are we comfortable moving on?
I just had a question on 2C. Currently serviced by transportation options that are continually evolving to optimize community member requirements and cost structures. I don't know if I understand what that's saying.
To
think
me,
what-
that's how we've shifted between buses and, Lyft and Uber and, going down different paths to try and balance everything because it's not a set need. That was my impression and understanding of how it was going. And I tried to put that in one sentence and it came out lots of business speak.
I think optimize cost structures is accurate. I don't know about optimizing community member requirements as a side by side with cost structures. I think Marge might have an opinion on this, but I do feel like maybe making more efficient use of funding or something like that. But community members would have probably, the 5 who are riding the bee probably would have kept riding the bee if they were allowed to. So
You are correct.
yeah, so I don't know if community member requirements was really that much of a consideration. It was really more about cost and efficiency, probably. Yeah,
You feel that's more reflective?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Again, these were the goals of the committee. And we'll discuss that we saw the senior population is probably being served best with the current solution that's in place. But that's, we would say that the transportation mobility coordinator needs to evaluate that on an ongoing basis to see if there are other solutions. But as we looked into additional solutions, there's nothing. It's the case of, that's one of the hardest things. Different people starting at different places, ending in different places at different times of the day. It's hard to get a streamlined process for that model. So I think that looks fine. And a lot of this, I hope there's questions from the select board that we can certainly answer those. I think we've got enough knowledge of in the year that we've gone through this to be able to answer questions to any of this. If we could just, Jeremy, strategic vision needs alignment across multiple vertices within the community. If we could just change that to align with the town meeting recommendations that we implement a cross-departmental, I think that's what we were looking for, that within the, municipal.
You could probably take out within the community as well, if you're with municipal departments.
I was just thinking the same thing. Drop that down.
Good.
For department, I'm gonna start them off with capitals. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've gotten all the way through this. So previously we had this slide talking about a transportation and mobility coordinator. To break up the black and white monotony, I went and had a little fun and built this version of the same thing. I kept both so we can go either way. This is me just visually playing around. It's all the same words, just in a different visualization.
I like that.
Okay.
Are
Are these all?
I did a pastel rainbow. So
I like that too. Are all of these departments properly termed? Department of Public Works, is that what we call
I'm
it?
not sure.
DPW, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Is there anyone we're leaving out?
I think we probably just want to change functional departments to just like functions or something, because you've got board, you've got public transportation listed in there, so they're not technically all departments. Is engineering within DPW, March, as well? I know maybe that needs to be called out.
Yeah,
separately, but-
yeah, it is.
Is it a
Building department is
division?
separate, but
Okay,
it's a division of the DPW.
okay.
And do you
Or
want to
could
put
just
like
put
school
engineering.
yeah. Do you want to put school district instead of systems?
Yes.
And also, before you go
Make
too
some
far in
changes.
increasing things, Jeremy, you have Parks and Rec in the other slide, but not on this slide. I don't know if you want to take it out of the other or add it to this one.
Yeah, I'd change building department to Parks and Rec, because building doesn't really have a lot to do with transportation. I don't know. Well, I say that, but
I don't think so. Well, they have the roads, but they're not moving anybody.
well, that's DPW though, right?
Yeah, under.
I like that. Any other comments on that slide?
Just saying like functional areas or functions instead of functional departments. Thank you. We don't actually have a transportation department either, do we? Or is this pie in the
Do
sky?
not pie in the sky. It's our wish list.
You could probably remove that cloud because you do have. unless you want it to be wishful. It could be.
Well, then it's
The
not symmetrical.
aspirational cloud.
Yeah, the aspirational cloud.
Mm.
You could make it like semi-transparent, like it's not there yet, you know?
So I mean, if I take this out, it becomes symmetrical. Just have to-
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
There. Right.
Any other comments on this slide? Rolling right along, Jeremy. How many hundred slides are there?
Oh, down to 10 on this version. So,
Hallelujah.
so this is what we had for Safe Routes to School. I copied what was in the email and dropped it in. It obviously didn't drop in as smoothly, but
Yeah.
I think it can be modified. We go. Just a second on some formatting. Oh, maybe not that big. So I'm just going to make this a little bigger to so everybody can read it. So Rick, this is what you read out loud to us earlier, correct?
Yep.
Jeremy, remind me what is on the slide right before this?
This is kind of what we had done before.
Okay.
And I think I could take I mean, it may be possible to take some of this wording
Yeah.
and put it into this, or just kind of reflow a little, reflow this a little.
Yeah. Either way, I think
'Cause I think
looks
there's-
fine. So, maybe we take the recommendation, like the number 5, out of this slide to put it all with recommendations. Is that, Rick, was that what you were thinking in
Yeah.
terms of how to
Yeah.
structure?
Yeah, I mean,
And then that frees
this
up
is
space.
great information. Yeah, I just feel like I agree. It eats up a lot of space, and it's something really good to speak to.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I agree that, I think we
Drop
put
it in
that
the
under the
notes.
recommendations of what we want the transportation and mobility coordinator to focus on with regards to school.
Mhm. So I've got it saved here in the notes, as you can see.
Yep.
So if there's ever a version printed with notes, it'll be there for some talking points. If people don't watch this before the meeting.
Okay, does it have, I'm trying to look. Okay, it's got, yep, that's good.
So I was giving this acronym there right next to it so people can follow it down.
Any other comments on this slide?
Looks good.
Yeah, I think just probably merging the format with 4 or taking 4 away and, you know, whatever makes sense. I don't know if we need to mess around too much with formatting right now. Or do we want to?
Well, let's get through the content first, I think, and we can make it pretty.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So this is the information we want, whether it's this format or kind of gets reflowed into breaking out to the 3 schools. But this also had the recommendation in it, that we talked about getting more schools involved and
Yep.
getting more PTO involvement to help really drive the engagement, and then really have a transportation mobility coordinator to really, to the point of the other one, $1.5 million grants. I mean, that's where you need a subject matter expert. You can't, a PTO just jumping in and taking a crack at it isn't going to be too successful. They just don't have the expertise. Unless
Mhm.
for some reason there's a transportation and mobility coordinator that's apparent in town.
Right.
Oh, and there are members in town meeting, that one of them that may be on this call, that have made it clear to the selectmen that this is an opportunity for us. So to hear it coming back again through this committee will just help to drive that home. And thank you for that, Eileen. Okay, let's go to the next one.
So that's what we're really dove into the recommendation. And this is the one we kind of worked on last time, where we talked about the recommendation being bringing in a transportation and mobility coordinator, and then just showing some of what we dug into and some of the complexity and how broad the spectrum of possible solutions is and problems, or I shouldn't say problems, or gaps that we want to cover.
So should this be more findings and recommendation at this point? Because it looks like this is a lot of things I don't know if findings is the right word. Maybe someone's got a better word. Just some of the things that we looked into, explored.
Discovery. Hey, Melissa, I think you're muted.
Sorry. I thought I was unmuted. I see the value in keeping this before the recommendation for the coordinator, but I also wonder if we would maybe want to have this after to talk about all the different prongs or areas that that coordinator could really kind of oversee, manage, pursue. Um, but at the same time, a lot of these are things that we did look at. So I don't know if we want to, I don't know if we want to list in detail all the different things we looked at, or if we just want to cut straight to the recommendation of the coordinator. And then these are the many different aspects of transportation that we looked at, that we realized, that kind of made us realize that we need this coordinator to kind of oversee all of it.
Melissa, I agree that but I do think this before the recommendations, it should be before the recommendations, because this is painting the picture of this stuff is really complicated. It's
Yep.
complicated and it's evolving, and it's all interrelated. When one picks up a part of the program, it changes everything else. So I do think this kind of builds up to, hey, there's a lot. And you put a committee together to study this stuff, and by the time you finish studying it, it's all changed. You need somebody who's right in there, hitting it every day. So I think if we put it, this is just my opinion, if we put it here before the recommendations, we're building that case of, look at how complicated this is. Look at all the things that you have to
Yeah.
take into consideration. And we're certainly not experts.
Yep. That's, yeah, that makes sense. So maybe we, do we need to take away the part about bringing to light the need for a transportation and mobility coordinator? Because we're still building the case. Is
Yeah,
that kind of, okay.
I agree there.
Yeah. Just gonna copy this to hang on to wording because I'm just making sure I don't lose anything. So we've got a great list here of different buckets, like on demand that we use, public transport that we talked about, carpool apps, things like safe routes to school, and I'm just trying to figure out what we should put here just to lead into the list.
I think this is where you're explaining the complexity.
Mhm.
Just building the case here. Because you're coming up with a conclusion, you're saying these are the things we looked at, but you also have the conclusion there. I think the conclusion's coming right around the corner. How about the complexity of the transportation needs of our community?
Sorry, I just figured I could start typing something and then we could tear it
No,
up and work
you're
on it.
absolutely right.
Always easy to work off a draft.
And
How
somehow if
about
we can get
something
to,
like, sorry.
no,
How
go
about
ahead, Melissa.
something, the complexity of the transportation needs of our community, shows us that there's not a one size fits all solution or something like that.
You got to put an of in front of needs. I mean, in front of our needs of our community. And also somehow that it's a dynamic situation. It's not static. It's evolving. It's there you go.
Doesn't seem to like evolving.
Yeah, maybe there's an extra space or something. That's weird.
Let me try typing it again.
Maybe continually evolving is just something that it doesn't like.
Seems
It
fine
liked it when
now.
I retyped it, so I'll take it.
Good enough.
Do we want to speak to the different populations with these options? Or is that getting a little too specific?
Mm.
Like, I mean, obviously on demand is over 18 for the most part. Carpool, that school is mentioned, safe routes to school. So maybe we don't need to, but I guess I want to make it clear that we really did look at the needs of of a variety of different populations in town.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know, Jeremy, if that's further along here. I know we did talk about, that's how we evaluated it. We did seniors, we did, resident school, and the daytime population and business community. I don't know if that's somewhere in here.
Yeah. And down here were some other things that I wasn't able to fit on here easily, just because we started to run out of real estate, and I
Yep.
know that we didn't want to make this too long, so I was trying to cut it down, but keep things in the notes we can talk to.
Mhm.
I'm obviously happy to move things around and cut things and add things, but just wanted to bring that up.
It doesn't hurt to have all those notes for the selectmen to read, and then just have this slide is what is presented at the board meeting. Because they often get stuff that nobody ever sees. It's just that they know the background to
Right.
it.
Yeah, I do think it's important to say that we did look at the different segments of the population individually and what their needs were. Again, I don't know what's coming after this yet.
Yeah, so after this was just some of the key sources and links to ones that I could find.
Okay,
Didn't have them all in here, but had most of them just so if this gets put out, well, when this gets put out, people can follow links and click and see what we looked at.
yeah,
And then everything after that was just other iterations of slides that might have original notes on them or, other pieces of it, I don't normally work in Google Slides, and I know because it just keeps saving over itself. I just copied slides and reworked them so we didn't lose anything from earlier. And then
Yeah.
I can save a copy and just cut out everything we don't want. So really right now it's like a title slide, 5 slides of content, and then this sources slide. That's really it as of right now.
And I think that's great. We don't want it to be too long, right?
right.
Mm-mm.
So let's go back to, I think the transportation and mobility coordinator one with the clouds, like that probably needs to get moved towards the end, right? Because this is really our our main recommendation.
Right.
Um,
That's the punchline.
and I forget what was on slide 2. Those goals and outputs, and then maybe we want to talk about what we looked at. So I don't know if that's a separate slide or if we're just reworking the findings slide. Or if in the committee goals and outputs, that's if it's part of that slide. I know that's already content heavy, but I mean, we do talk some about the segments of the population that we look at here. We could add like a comment or two here to kind of drive home that we looked at all these different populations in town. We talk about elderly, we talk about students, we talk a little bit about the business community in B, but we don't specifically say what their needs are.
Okay, so maybe if we add on to 1B and call out the specific segments, lost opportunities for members of our community, senior students,
Yeah.
workers.
I have to go, guys. Sorry.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye, Catherine.
Bye,
Yep.
Hi,
Catherine.
Catherine.
Thank you, everybody.
Just gonna make sure we still have a quorum because we're gonna vote this thing.
Well, there's 4 of us, right? So I think we might still
And
be-
nobody leave.
No one can leave. So we probably looked at both incoming workforce and working
Can we,
residents, right?
Jeremy, can we change elderly to older adults, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
But you don't like the word senior?
I don't, I like senior, but elderly, they're gonna go, you know what?
Maybe next to workforce, just put incoming
But just say workforce and commuters.
and commuters. Yeah, thank you. Is that all we looked at? I feel like there was so much more. Let me go back and look at that. Sorry for the television noise in the background if you hear it.
Yeah.
It's the confirmation. Students, seniors, workforce, parents. Yeah, I guess we kind of covered everything.
You say student and parents, good.
Should be.
Yeah. Okay.
And 3 and 4 still have to be combined. So there's actually 1, 2, 3, like 4 sides of content, and then there's the key sources.
So if we go back to
Sure.
this findings slide, number 5, I think. Do we want to change the word findings to
Conclusion?
something else?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Conclusion? Conclusions?
Or our um,
This is more like the studies that we did,
our
or
research, yeah, kind of
what's the word I'm looking for?
what we looked at. And I feel like that could maybe go after slide 2, and then the safe routes to school because it was so
How
deep.
about considerations?
Yeah. So if we go, yeah, there we go. And then we dive deeper into safe routes to school because that was kind of a bigger piece. And then um we really go to a recommendation, which we might need a little more on the recommendation. We probably need to take all those notes that we have on different places about the transportation mobility coordinator and put them into maybe a second slide about the recommendations. Rick, are you on an agenda, an upcoming agenda?
Or for the selectmen?
Yeah.
Board? Not yet.
Okay.
I was hoping Nick would be here tonight to move that forward for us, but I can speak to them.
There was definitely some good language in some of the other slides, Jeremy, that maybe we pulled off, so we could probably go digging. At least I thought there was. Yeah, that comment, that part might be a good lead in. They
Yeah.
evaluated. And then I think there was maybe a couple places you popped some things in the notes on the slides up above that might have some good.
Mhm.
Maybe it was on the safe routes. I feel like there was another place that it was too.
Jeremy, while you've got that up, expedited implementation of route, it's now Route 80. 94 has been changed to 80.
Change. It's not a suitable. By the way, it's not a suitable recommendation that we can't make because that's exactly what we're doing. It's a suitable, let's call it series of decisions. No, I just don't like this.
Yeah, instead of we don't, we think the expertise of a professional is needed. How about dedicated professional? Dedicated to this. You can't just throw someone on it.
Make this a lot bigger.
You probably move that right over to the recommendation slide and we could maybe clean it up.
Mm-hmm. Let me just take a swing at chopping it up a little.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeremy, now when we're talking about the recommendation, we say transportation mobility coordinator with the following priorities, and then we say school, and we name the things that we want, just bulleting them. And then seniors, we think the current situation, the current program is adequate, but it needs to be looked at regularly.
Yeah, I'd probably take A out.
Sorry, we're A.
Letter A, you probably just take that one out.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've got a lot written there. I think we need them to serve as, to champion that Safe Routes to School program.
And be like the central point of contact. Pursue grant
Pursue
funding.
grant opportunities, yeah.
Make, and make connections with, connections across departments.
I almost want to say internally because, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I was thinking make connections across departments, to create alignment I don't want to say priorities again. I'm trying to think of something in direction or in, I don't know. I'm losing words at the moment.
Departments.
I guess you could even probably do across departments and regionally, or with local and regional colleagues or something like that instead of across departments. Okay. Yep.
How's that happening?
Yeah.
I don't know that you have to say complex grantee. I think you can take off complex out of, just pursue grant opportunities. And that Safe Routes to School is now, yeah, safe, SRTS.
Wait, it's, oh. Spell check is wonderful.
Mhm. I think you could get rid of 2C completely.
Yep.
And then B, you could maybe tab in as another component of champion Safe Routes to School. So make that a 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lowercase 3. We want to move on to older adults or workforce.
We can say seniors.
No, I know. I just want to be consistent with whatever we decide to use.
Yeah.
I just quickly added 2B, build solutions to close missed opportunity gaps, to reference the point in the BAR study about like 45% of students didn't do something or attend something because they didn't have transportation.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but does that fall on? Okay, yep. Because
That's under
you pulled it
schools.
out of Safe Routes to School.
Yeah, I just
But
kept it
I think
schools as a whole. And
yeah, I think you've got to define that missed opportunity gaps, or at least put a IE or something in there to let them know that we didn't just ignore the after school. Because that was really a big thing for us.
yeah, that when I first started this, just stood out to me quite a bit.
Me too.
Missed
So
af-
maybe
missed
to
after
mention that
school opportunity
after
gaps?
school activities.
Okay. I'll miss the font later.
You could probably just have it be build solutions to close missed after school opportunities. Oh, or opportunity gaps, however that sounds better, but, and then you could probably take off the IE because that data
Yeah,
point
we've
is
already
earlier.
talked about it there.
Mhm.
Okay,
And I do know in presenting this, that will be a point that I'll definitely, stress. That was a major thing. We just can't find an easy solution within the scope of this committee.
Right. And
I think
to the
here, older
point
ones,
on slide three.
I think we talked about
Go ahead,
continuing
sorry.
to use the go-go grandparent solution now. And then continue to evaluate.
Mm-hmm.
on demand, would you call it?
So it's Burlington Community Life Transportation Program. Transportation, not life, just Burlington Community Transportation Program.
So this is a recommendation, Jeremy. I think we want to say continue to utilize. Till someone can figure out something better.
Well, that sounds fine. Or continue to utilize and assess. I guess if you want to assess other options, it's better to be its own bullet though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Other group was the workforce and commuters.
Yep.
Now, Jeremy, I sent you a file. I don't know how we're going to pull that into it. Maybe if you could just pull that up because you're sharing the screen, the file that I sent you regarding, we talked about workforce and daytime population because we got to take into consideration people who are traveling that are here at the hotels, people who are here at Leahy for, family. And if he finds that file,
I'm looking. Do you know when you sent it?
it was today. It was with the I forwarded Melissa's stuff as well.
I'm looking for it.
That's all right. I see you have a rule in there that sends it right to trash. So anything coming from me,
Yep.
It's
Not a
saved
bad
for
move.
later.
See one at 237 Safe Routes to School grant
that's it.
funding.
That's it. There should have been an attachment. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, I just put a lot of points on here. Because when we were talking about the business community, two things that really came to light. One was advocating for this bus route 80. Just to let you know, the major change there that the MBTA bus network redesign changed. While they brought back the 354 based on a lot of conversation, they took away the 350 and put in the 80. The major distinction between the 350 and the 80 is that when it gets to Arlington, it goes over to Davis rather than to Alewife. And for us, that's a big plus because that's where there's a large source of college students, graduates, and the up and coming workforce that don't necessarily have cars. So I just tried to build some of the considerations in there. I don't know how you're going to stick that in there, Jeremy.
So I'm playing with a copy of this slide you were just on.
Yep. So just for informational purposes, to those still alive and listening, currently we don't have anything coming into Burlington. It's 7 days, includes late night. This is going to be the first one. So, all of our businesses are struggling, as you know, to find additional sources of labor. But those, particularly in the medical, life sciences, restaurant, hospitality, and retail. So this Route 80 gives us access to another population. Hopefully it's going to solve some of those issues. So it's on the slate. We just have to continue to advocate for it. Hope we will continue to do it. Melissa with Economic Development Office and me through the chamber will continue to do it. But if it happens to get done before we get a transportation mobility coordinator, great. If it doesn't, there should be something that they should be advocating for. Jeremy, great job.
Thank you.
Maybe if at the top there, if you say including late night service. Because one of the things the MBTA leaves a little bit in the gray area is the frequency and how late they'll run. They say many of these will run, till 1 a.m., which is critical if someone's going to take a job in the restaurant industry. You got to be able to get home.
Mm-hmm.
So Rick, this is actually moving forward.
Yes, it is, but we need someone to be advocating for it. And if we're hoping that it's going to get implemented sooner than later, because the implementation date could be between 2023 and 2028.
Oh,
We're
okay.
going to be doing a lot of things behind the scenes with our state rep and senator to try to make sure that this happens sooner rather than later. And
Okay.
as John Strauss had mentioned, it's slated to run to 1 a.m., but the frequency, they've got some things written there now, and it's really put out there again for comment to get to the bottom of what's going to be the final decision. Yeah, Jeremy, that's fine for the size of that map, because I'm going to have to talk to that. It's not really going to.
Yeah, I was just trying to cut out some of the space that didn't have anything in it to get more
You did
real
good.
estate for words. Sorry, I really want to line the bottom of this up roughly.
And the other part of it, and that I think copy and paste is great. That's there. The other part was the routes that we had talked about circulating the daytime population. Currently, there are areas, and we went over this early, and I know that Melissa Tentakoulis is talking about this corridor, this commercial corridor being comprised primarily of Mall Road and Blanchard Road as the north-south boundaries, and then Middlesex Turnpike and South Bedford Street being the east-west. If you work, let's say at Burlington Woods, the area behind the Marriott, if you don't have a car, you're not getting to any of the amenities. So we did talk about a circulation. And I do think it's going to have to be a public-private partnership there. Business community and some of the larger property owners are going to have to contribute to it. But, this is something that Melissa Tentakoulis is going to be working on. And I want to make sure the transportation coordinator knows that we saw this as a problem too. Because as we try to get more people that will take public transportation here, we want to make sure that they're not stranded, in their office all day long, and that they have access to the amenities and the businesses can continue to be successful here.
And I think that's important too, is, work has changed over the last few years. It's never, I don't think, it's never going back to what it was. So
Right.
you want to give people a reason to come to the office. And
Right.
if, to your point, if you can't connect them to all the awesome restaurants and things to do in town, what's the difference between sitting alone in an office that has no access here or
Yep.
any other town in the state, right?
So Jeremy, that's the
That's
second
key.
page to that file that I sent you. This is for the commuters coming in. The second page to that file, right there, that's the circulation pattern that we had recommended when we looked at this.
I'll work on this in a second. I just wanted to get something down to distinguish them.
Because as we discussed earlier on, you really need a hub to get it going and then figure out how to feed different people into it. So if seniors could get onto this line, whether they were parked at any one of the areas, they could move around during the day and get to different places without having to jump back in a car.
Sorry, it's not playing nice.
Gonna fight you.
It really doesn't want to play, huh? All right. Wow.
Wow.
All right. It worked the last time around. Just give me a second while I get it in here.
Yep. No, kudos to you, Jeremy, being able to do this with everyone watching.
Mhm.
Yeah, no pressure.
Here we go. We're just gonna do it this way. Sorry sorry as I mumble to myself as I work on this.
It's all right. And just as he's typing that, I don't know if you can read it, but a big part, if you can get people to come in on public transportation and then you show them everything that's around, especially like Mary Cummings Park, some of the other areas, you start having people say, yeah, I can walk to that, or I can start to use some of these bike share programs. We have, several of them around the town that are very underutilized, but people will start to see them and say, you know what, I don't have to get on for that whole route. I can jump on one of these bikes. It's all part of it is you got to put people on a ride to see what's here and know that they have access to it. We've got some great, amenities and open spaces that most people who come in here during the day have no idea it's within reach. So the whole real push here is to get that one person, one car mentality off the page. I mean, that's last generation. The generation that doesn't see the need for a car, they're all in Somerville and Medford and Cambridge and can't get here. So if they get here, they start having a bigger impact on where we go in the future. Then the sidewalks get all connected and we're all in a much better place, hopefully.
Yeah, and I think that also, I've seen on town Facebook pages, let's just say spirited comments about bike lanes on 3A.
Yeah.
And, if there's a vision that includes those and shows the benefit of those, I think maybe some of that conversation changes because now there's clarity
Right.
around how it could benefit the town. Because, right now there's not that connection and clarity out in the open public discussion. And so, it feels like it always has to me, which is kind of disjointed, like, hey, we've got money to do this thing, or this thing's a good thing, we're going to do it. It's not this thing's a good thing because XYZ and it connects to these other good things, therefore there's
Right.
a plan. So because it's fragmented, I think there's a lot more friction in town.
Yeah.
And I think, it'd be very helpful to have one vision for that.
So there is a meeting on, just checking my calendar here.
I know they meet the 22nd. I have to go to that one.
November 17th, the public.
Is it the
that's the one we're talking
17th?
about? The one with
Is it
mascot,
17th?
the public hearing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the 17th. I feel like that number's in my head.
Yeah, I knew I put it in here, but I don't see it now.
Oh, yeah, 17th,
Um,
26th.
It's going to be the public hearing from the Department of Transportation. And I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole right now, but right now people think you can't drive a bike in Burlington and safely, and you're right. But if we don't start making some steps to where you can do it, it will never get there. And I think one of the things is we think of ourselves as just a residential community. It's the commercial engine that drives this all, and they want to ride bikes.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be able to ride from Cambridge down Minuteman and get off and come to Burlington.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get this one person, one car mentality just out of the system. And I think the more people that start doing it, it gets contagious. Jeremy, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, can we yeah. Can we go, well, once you feel like you're done kind of tweaking this one, can we go back
Uh,
to 5? I think it's 5. Oh wait, where did our recommendations line go?
This,
Oh, okay.
is this the one you were talking about?
Yes. Rick, did you want your the two route slides that you have, do you want them after in the recommendations or do you want them before?
Um, it's a great question. I could see it
thought we
either
were
way.
putting 'em- I thought we were adding them after because we were on this number 4 workforce and commuters. That's why in my head I
Yeah.
thought they were going after, but
Oh,
if
no,
it's-
I thought you did have them after. I didn't see that you had them before.
Yeah, if we can, I put them up next to Safe Routes to Schools, which is up here. So I'm happy to move anything anywhere. That's the easy part.
Yeah,
Just moving slides around.
Can we just change that to commuters and daytime population? Because I don't want people to think it's just the workforce. Because there are a number of people that are here during the day for whatever reason. Like I said, whether it's, they're traveling or they're at Leahy or they're here for some other reason, they're here to shop. And it will come out that a lot of them are the workforce. And in fact, in some of the backup for that, in order to be able to continue to attract companies to come here, you've got to have access to these amenities. It's not enough to have them within the town. You have to be able to get to them.
right.
Okay. I'm hung up a little bit, Jeremy, on that right underneath recommendation evaluated, because we're talking about this is where we want to make our statement that we recommend the creation of a transportation and mobility coordinator position, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right at the start.
Yeah, we would want to make that statement, and these are the things that we want that we recommend that person does. And I think we can even say in the same words that the committee before us said, for managing the town's transportation strategy. And then somehow we've got to put in there that they're the ones that are going to be responsible for pursuing grant opportunities, because we did have it written on the slide that showed all of the logos of the different things that we looked at.
Mm-hmm.
That's a key part of it, because that's going to be my selling point, is consistent with the economic development position. This is one of those positions that can more than pay for itself. And we just don't have the manpower that's going after these grants now. We don't have the knowledge and the manpower to pursue these grants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we could take out, so Jeremy's typing under 2A, we have pursue grant opportunities, so perhaps we just pull that out as a separate, we put that as like number 5 instead of buried in Safe Routes to School, because it is really just for all the things, not just,
Yeah.
I almost feel like it should be number 1.
sure. Yeah, I mean, these weren't in any particular order, it was just,
I know 3 through 5 are in the same order we have them on slide 2, which, makes
Yep.
some sense to keep those the same, but
Yeah, if you could,
I do
Jeremy, if
think
you can
that-
go back to that,
yeah.
the page that has the Pogo logo, pursue
Yes.
state, federal, and private grants. I think that would be good if we had that listed on where you just were, the recommendations.
Yes, good call. Pursue state.
Mhm.
Maybe include private.
Yeah, it was federal, state, local, and private.
Clearly getting later as I'm hitting more and more keys when I'm aiming for one.
Jeremy, you're doing awesome. I can't think as fast as you're typing. Maybe just put federal before state, so it's in order of national, state, town. Transportation grant opportunities. Because that's the thing, we just said, hey, we're gonna add more money into the budget that you're gonna have to spend, but we're hoping to get a larger return than we'll be spending. I'm looking, everyone's starting to glaze over.
No, I think this is good.
Tired. Hey, some of us have to get up in 4 hours.
Yeah, just don't go to sleep, the
Hours?
chief. Works better.
I may not.
What's happening at midnight?
Actually, no, I guess it's more like 6 hours. We're getting picked up to go to the airport at 3:30 to go to Punta Cana.
Oh, well, I mean, you can just sleep on the plane.
Yes, I can. Although we have two, we couldn't get a direct flight. They're not doing them yet. So get
We
the joy
wanna
of
make
JFK.
Do we want to make recommendation plural there, even though we're only saying,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Maybe let's just go back through the order of these and decide if they're the way we want them. That seems like the right place for this slide.
Yep.
Yes, the humor's coming out now.
Yeah, don't
Getting
get me
bad shaking.
started. I might not stop. Yeah, this is good. And then, what's the next one is considerations, okay. And then we have to just merge the safer to school
Yeah,
slide.
those two. And then it's these two. This feels like it should come after the recommendation,
Yep,
right? Or no?
I think after the recommendation. I also feel like Rick's map slides probably have to come after the recommendations personally.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna let Rick make the final call on
No,
that. 'cause
no, I think you're right, because then it's explaining, how we came up with some of these recommendations, that we didn't just pull them out of a hat.
So should Safe Routes to School go back there too then? Because or should that be up front? Because otherwise, that's the only thing like that up front that's diving into a topic.
Let's see what that, I mean, that content was more like what's been done so far, right? Like on the safe routes.
Yeah,
And the map ones are what we want to happen, right? What's coming potentially.
the future.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's,
That makes
Yeah, this
that's
is what's
the more
coming, and this.
sort of difference, yeah.
I agree.
And we could, rephrase some of the stuff on the safe route slide to just make it clear that these are, these are the things that we decided to take action on right away, kind of thing. I don't know quite exactly how to word that, but and it was really through Melissa's, kind of interest and commitment in this program that pushed it forward, with Catherine, I think, communicating with the school, Bob Kuna, to try to get that connection made. I don't know what else happened behind the scenes, but
Jeremy was ringing the doorbells of the middle school, and he's maybe even Memorial.
so
Yeah,
Jeremy,
yeah. I
can
mean,
you
we're still waiting for Memorial info to come back, so there's more to come.
can you, on slide 3, we do reference safe routes to school, correct? Like we talk about it as some of the,
Mhm.
okay. Actually, yeah, say safe roads, you might want to fix that to safe routes to school in 4A.
Oh,
Good catch.
great catch.
Okay. I mean, I don't know, maybe the safe routes is something that should just go towards the end and say, this is what we've already done, and then we want the transportation coordinator to kind of keep the momentum. It does feel a tiny bit out of place, to Jeremy's point, but I could go either way.
I like the fact that, you've got, we have the past before the recommendation and the future after the recommendation. That makes a certain amount of sense.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe we would just like sort of title the slide more clearly for it to still be, because the slide before it we called considerations, right? So like maybe we call this
Safe routes to school activity, or
or immediate action or something like that. Yeah, something like that, so that it's sort of like, these are what the things we considered, this is what we did right away, this is what we want to recommend going forward, kind of thing. Does that seem
instead of saying immediate action, safe routes to school accomplishments, or
short term
progress? I don't know. What do you think?
I like progress. Can't think of a better word.
Mhm.
Melissa?
And I think
yeah. Yeah. Yep, I'm good.
I think the big thing that Melissa Massardo stressed was like, we did all this and this is great. And there's still a report coming from Memorial and there's probably some things we could do, but it was a big effort for some enthusiastic parent volunteers. And we clearly felt that we didn't have the experience and skill set to go for some of the bigger grants that we could use.
Right.
I mean, I know I live on Peach Orchard, right? And so I see the middle school and Memorial School every day and the chaos that creates, right? And that's what you need the bigger grant for, to really dive into fixing things like that. And that's why we need somebody.
Yeah, we didn't, I'm glad you mentioned that. We haven't put that anywhere in here, that parents dropping off kids and not utilizing the buses. I know that's kind of a third rail discussion, but it is a major cause of congestion at schools. I don't know.
I mean, we could put it in considerations on the slide 3. Maybe there's a place within Safe Routes to say that we studied. Well, it did say perform flow studies. I don't know if we just want to maybe call that out more. Because we didn't really like
Yeah, if
do
we
a
just
full study. We just sort of anecdotally heard from some of the stuff done through Safe Routes and maybe some other survey data that people were not using the school bus.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the whole Safe Routes to School program. If you're on it, you get some of that advocacy and education. And in the presentation that she gave us, she showed us, here's the bus trying to get to school to take kids home, and the bus can't get there because all the parents are lined up. I think I can speak to that if
Mhm.
there's a note in here, or if there's something that reminds me to do that.
Yeah,
By
and
the
I
way,
think, sorry, go ahead, Rick.
no, if anyone, this would be a time, well, I've got people worn down and tired. If anyone wants to volunteer to join me to present to the select board, because what happens is you get so into this that you forget things like that, but that's a key consideration. I think the work that we've done already on Safe Routes to School brought that to light, and you really need that education of, you're not in traffic, you are traffic. We've got to
Yeah.
drive that home to people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to, Rick, if it's a time that I can do it. I'm happy to be there with you.
Nice. There's the good cop.
Rick,
The
same
good cop,
here.
bad cop.
I'm also happy to join if I
Um,
can make it, right? So I'm happy to join.
I wonder if one other thing on recommendations, sort of relative to kind of collecting data about traffic and needs, like I wonder if one of the key priorities in the recommendation should also be like ongoing assessment of I forget what we wrote in like one of the first bullets, but something around like actually collecting data and assessing what we have versus what the needs, because we're not going to know what the continuing evolving needs are if we don't have somebody who's actually trying to gather that
Yeah.
information. So I don't know how to say that, but like kind of keeping the pulse or taking the pulse of the evolving community needs. That would be like, yeah, that would be on the recommendation side. I don't know if that's important enough to call out as its own.
Well, there's always, when you got number 2, make connections, adding all stakeholders, that's kind of the catch-all.
Yep.
Marge, your husband's telling you, you better be wrapping it up soon.
Time to go to
He's
bed.
packed. He's ready to go.
He's got his shorts on, ready to go.
He is ready to go.
So am I. Unfortunately, I'm not going.
So what were you saying, Rick, about stakeholders?
Um,
Was that like,
this number 2, I'm just wondering if we can get that to include,
get it in there? Mhm.
yeah. See, make connections.
I
Yeah.
think colleagues should be stakeholders.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yep.
Because that's the catch-all. Anyone who's interested is a stakeholder.
Correct.
How about to identify ongoing needs and drive more? Or evolving needs, if we're gonna try to use that language again, and drive more unification and efficiency. Does that work?
Yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
Oh, needs and, there should be an and after needs.
You're gonna find there's a direct relationship to agreement with the passing of time in a meeting.
It's causal and not correlational.
Yeah. No, your ideas are getting better as the time goes on. That's all it is.
Just getting warmed up.
Well, I mean, this seems good to me. There's a little more cleanup to do, but I feel like this is in a good place.
Yeah, the problem is we have to vote and accept it pending Jeremy's minor cleanup. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. How about if I make a motion that we accept it with some minor grammatical and I don't want to say beautification. I can't think of the word. It's too late in the day.
Formatting, yeah. Some
yeah,
minor
formatting.
formatting.
Yeah, maybe grammar and formatting, no new or additional content.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Okay,
have
let
to
me
hear
write
that
that
motion
down.
said a little more
Yeah, let me write that down.
concisely.
Okay. All right. So I make a motion that we accept the document with some small grammatical and formatting changes, which will be done by Jeremy
Motion's been made.
With no new content added.
with no new content.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Let's see who we've got left. Member
Well, we still have
Harrington.
to all vote.
Member Harrington. Yes, no.
Yes. Yes.
Member Interest.
Yes.
Member Yetman.
Yes.
Member Parker says yes, 400.
Yay.
And I heard a agreement that there would be a couple of people interested in tagging along if their schedule allows.
I think all three of us, Rick.
Okay. And I don't know how we can ask anyone else if they're interested outside of this meeting, but I'm sure that anyone who missed the meeting will be watching BCAT tomorrow to catch up on all the details, and they can reach out and be available. So I will reach out to Nick and see if we can get on the agenda for the selectmen to present the findings and recommendations. And we'll go from there.
Okay.
Rick, can I say thank you for chairing this, and Melissa, thank you for being secretary, and of course, Jeremy, thank you for putting the document together. Nice job.
You're welcome.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that. This really was a team effort, and I know that everyone's got a job everyone has families and multiple committees that they're on. I truly appreciate it. We wouldn't have got through this without people stepping up.
And let me just say that I believe, Jeremy, once you've finished out the little updates that we need to make, I believe you can send it out to everybody. People just can't comment on it. So you could say, this is the final, you know, it's just like me sending the agenda. You just can't have people commenting on it because then that
Okay.
violates open meeting. But so that everybody has it in final version, you could definitely send it out.
That's great.
Okay. And then, so I was going to ask that. And then I also wanted to ask about how do we get it to the town board? Like, because I made it, I'm going to share it with people. I just want to make sure that we get it to them appropriately. I've never done this, so I'm not sure how they get content material.
I think what we will do is once we get a date to be on there, we can send it to the select board, and they will include it in the agenda items for the select board.
It'll go
No.
to Lynn Mills.
Right.
She's the one that will, that we'd send it to.
So to give them an opportunity to look at it before we're there. It's hard for them to look through all the details of these documents, but it's really the presentation. There's a lot of words that they can go back and look at to get clarification. But it's, you know, basically what we said, the committee before us did a great job. We agree, we've looked at it, and it's just one more step to push it, you know, to completion. So in conjunction with Marge, I can't thank you guys enough. I should have paid more attention when Ernie nominated me at the beginning. I think I was a little bit asleep.
I think Ernie
Well-
just knew he could throw you a
Yeah.
curveball.
Ernie's a great guy, does a great job. And I
Mhm. It's
appreciate
hard to say
everything
no to
everyone else
him.
does on the other boards. I know, Jeremy, you've got quite a lot on your plate, and Melissa, with a, you know, when you have young families and you're able to do this, it says a lot about who you are as people. Does anyone else have anything to say before we hear a motion?
I have one question, Rick. What's your next board going to be?
It's probably going to be Monopoly. It's going to be a long time. I mean, you know, there's a lot of challenges going on right now with trying to turn, you know, the daytime population into the life science industry and get the economic engine back here. And that's where I've really got to concentrate my time. It's we've been very fortunate for a lot of years, and we want to make sure that we continue to be fortunate. So that's where I'm going to be spending most of my time. Any motions?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Motion by
Second,
Marge, seconded by Melissa. We got to do a roll call, so I'll have to go down. Member Harrington,
Yes.
member Interest. And am I pronouncing that right, Melissa?
yes, you are.
Okay.
Nice job.
And you vote was
Yes.
yes. Member Yetman,
Yes.
member Parker, yes, 400. Folks, thank you very much and have a great night.
Thanks, Jeremy.
I'm now
for
officially on
finishing that off.
vacation.
Thank you.